Hello everybody. Anzac Day is fast approaching. What a wonderful time to remember bravery and courage. One of the things I really love about this time of year are Anzac biscuits. So I thought I'd make some. Would you like to help me? I'd love you to. To do so, you'll need a cup, you'll need a half a cup and a quarter of a cup to measure the dry ingredients, and you'll also need a set of measuring spoons, a really large bowl, and of course a wooden spoon. But here's the thing, a microwave proof bowl and something to put it on will mean you do not use the oven until you need to cook the cookies. So let's go with that. So shall we get started? So the first thing you're going to do is just pour in to your bowl, pour in the flour and pour in the sugar. Here's your 3/4 of a cup of coconut, that's going to go in as well. And you need a cup of rolled oats. So a cup and a half of flour, a cup of rolled oats, half a cup of sugar, and 3/4 of a cup of coconut, and that's all you need for your dry ingredients. The butter, you need 150 grams of that, and I've measured that already, and perfectly 150 grams, but that's quite a large amount of butter. So what we'll do is cut it into smaller pieces, just so that it's easy to melt it quickly. While the butter is melting, you also need to melt and soften up the golden syrup alongside that. So let me show you a really good way of making sure it doesn't stick to your spoon. If you've got some cooking spray, pour that into the bowl, and you'll see that as you pour it out, nothing gets stuck, so that's really handy. So we're going to get those 2 tablespoons of golden syrup. We're going to get that 150 grams of butter, and we're going to melt that with the plate on top for a minute. We'll have a look at that at the end. So Anzac biscuits are really quite an interesting recipe. They had their origins in wartime, where there were shortages of many foods. So Anzac biscuits, unlike many biscuits, have no eggs in them. There just weren't eggs available because of rationing. Now, we're in interesting times now, aren't we, where sometimes the ingredients we used to take for granted just aren't available anymore. So maybe you don't have lots of plain flour, but you might have some spelt flour or some wholemeal flour at home. Use that. Maybe you don't have many rolled oats, but you do have muesli. You could use a cup of muesli instead. And maybe at home you don't have a lot of golden syrup, but you do have honey. We love honey, and why not use honey instead? That works just as well. So while we have a basic recipe that's very delicious, there are many other things we can put into that as well. So here's my butter. Here's my golden syrup, and is it melted enough? Not quite. So what we're going to do is we are going to give that another 20 seconds. And while that's happening, let's talk about the oven. The oven should be on 170 degrees fan bake, and that will help your cookies cook and be really, really delicious. We also have a few other interesting things to add to this liquid ingredient. We have some bicarbonate of soda, and its job is to help the cookies raise. You only need 1/2 of a teaspoon of that. That's quite a strong ingredient that can taste quite soapy if you lose too much of it. So 1/2 a teaspoon of bicarb, that can just pour straight in, and that's going to dissolve in the butter and golden syrup mixture. And we also will add 1.5 tablespoons of water, and that will help to dissolve the bicarb soda, and it will also help to finish off dissolving the butter and the golden syrup. So I wonder if you notice how as I'm stirring that and the bicarb is dissolving and getting quite hot, things are becoming quite fizzy. I can hear it fizzing, and that's actually showing that that's activating. So in a minute, what we're going to do is pour that into the dry ingredients, and we're going to mix that into a dough. So in it goes. You can scrape out what's left. It's a delicious syrupy, buttery mixture. And then we're going to just mix that together until we have a really tasty and delicious cookie mixture. So you can see that's coming together really, really well already. If you find as you're mixing, it's really dry and you can still see white bits, add maybe 1/4 teaspoon of water. If it's looking too soft, more rolled oats, too easy. So the final thing that you're going to do before you put them into your oven is prepare your tray. You need some baking paper, and you're just going to put that down onto the tray. And you are going to get yourself a teaspoon so that you can roll delicious pieces of the dough into balls and then just squash them down. When you've filled the tray, allow space for spreading. I suggest 9 on a tray of this size, so 3 by 3. Put those into the oven at 170 degrees and give them 12 to 15 minutes. I'm going to finish rolling those and I'll show you what they look like when they come out of the oven.